Welcome back to Dust Euphoria. Today we have a super rare score from the thrift store bins. We paid less than $3 for this Hot Wheels case full of cars. It wasn't until we got home and looked through the case that we realized all the cars are vintage, some of which are pretty rare and collectible. The craziness didn't stop there though. As it turns out, the case itself was more rare and more valuable than any of the cars. Stay tuned for all the details from the crazy story and check out all the amazing cars we got. Hey everybody, I'm super excited about today's video. I'm going to jump right into the story. Earlier this week, Lynn Cinnamon and I were at the thrift store bins, which is where donated items are sold by the pound just before they get taken to the landfill. Anyways, we were there at the thrift store. It was just after close. They just made the announcement that the store had closed when Lynn Cinnamon noticed this awesome Hot Wheels case in one of the bins. And so as we were headed to the checkout, she grabbed it up and showed it to me, and I thought it was pretty cool. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. It was like we've been buying lots of die-cast cars, and so this was a perfect thing to store them in. And but then Lynn Cinnamon pointed out that the case actually had cars in it, and she just opened it up real quickly. It's got this little snap on here, and I can't remember if it was closed or not, but anyway, she opened it up and she flashed the little cars, and I was like, oh, that's so awesome. I can't believe it. What a score. We got this neat little case and a whole bunch of little cars. We can show them off in the haul video or whatever like that. But anyways, it wasn't until we got home and I was sorting through the haul and I started to take a closer look at the cars, and I realized that the cars, they're all vintage. I think the most recent car was produced in 1989, but most of the cars are from the 70s, with one of them was actually made in 1969. And not only are they old, but most all of them are in really great shape. Some of them are pretty valuable. I've actually been putting together Etsy listings for all the cars in the case, and so I've been able to put together some information, and I'll include some of the stuff that I learned about each of the cars in the video here, and I'll also put in screen caps from the Etsy listings that has the very basic description, and it has prices for each of the cars that we listed. If you stay tuned to the end of the video, I'll add up all the prices for you and give you a lump sum. But enough about all that. Let's take a look at the cars. Even though the case is Hot Wheels, we're actually going to kick things off with a Matchbox car. It's a Matchbox Racer, this white race car right here. This is actually a Matchbox Superfast Hightailer, Hi-Tailer. And it was made between 1975 and 1977. You can check out the bottom here. It's unclear exactly what year this one was produced, but we do know that it was prior to 1978, because after 1977 they switched from a blue driver, a little blue plastic driver in there, to a yellow plastic driver. So the car's really neat. It's got these gray racing stripes. It's really kind of this thick rectangular, almost like a Pinewood Derby kind of thing, where there's no contouring along the sides. It's completely a rectangle. But it's got this real aerodynamic. It's got this big fin on the back. It's actually got a gap in there in between. And it's in great shape. It's got, you can see some little dings, especially on the front there. But that's pretty much about it. Otherwise, it's in great shape. I think we've got it listed in the Etsy shop for $13. I can hold it over here. And I'll put up a little screen cap of the listing over there on the left of the screen. So yeah, we'll kick it off with that. And we'll follow it up with another Matchbox. This is actually sort of the high-end Matchbox called World Class. This is from the first series of World Class. It's the red Ferrari. You can see the little logo on the back for the World Class. But this is a Ferrari 308 GTB, and part of the distinguishing features of the World Class, you can sort of tell it has these reflective chrome windows and a windshield, so you can't really even see in. And then apparently it has actual rubber tires. They're kind of thick, and then it's got this inlaid plastic along the side of the metal body. And the little Ferrari logo sticker on there. It's even got a license plate number. Ooh, and the taillights are different colors, red and yellow. Blinkers and brake lights. But once again, this is in phenomenal shape. I think this came out in 1989. There were previous Matchbox Ferrari 308s that came out, and I think if you look up the date on the bottom, it's an earlier date, but that's just because they use the same body. But they actually the world class version came out in 1989. So, and that one's currently in the Etsy shop. I believe it's $16. Now anything under $25, it's plus shipping. But any of the prices that are over $25 in our shop, there's no shipping costs associated with it. Okay, this next car is our first actual Hot Wheels, and it is a Hot Wheels. Check them out there. It's got the flying colors written down the side. When I first pulled this out, I mean, you can tell it's got more wear than the previous two cars that I showed you. Some chipping on the paint there, and you know, the graphics are a bit worn. And when I saw it, I noticed this little blower on the hood looked like it had been mashed down, and then the windshield was gone. There was nothing. But when I looked into the car, I realized that that's how that is supposed to be. The blower is supposed to be at that angle, and then it didn't come with a windshield, partly because this is a dragster, a little funny car, and so it lifts up from the base just like a real drag racer. And inside you can see it's got the black roll cage, the single seat and the steering wheel, and the engine with the exhaust pipes hanging out. And this is actually, if you ever hear Hot Wheels Redline, it's talking about these original tires that had the red wall, or whatever you want to call it. It was kind of a trademark for Hot Wheels for a long time. May still be, I'm not actually sure. But this one is called the Top Eliminator, and it was part of the Flying Colors was a series that Hot Wheels put out. This one came out in 1974, but it's actually a body that had been used on previous cars. I believe they were called Snake. It was an actual dragster that it was modeled after. And then there was a Snake 2, maybe even a Snake 3. I think those were released in 1970, maybe 1973. And then this Flying Colors Top Eliminator was produced in 1974. Now what's odd, when I was doing research on, you know, trying to find out information so I could know the value and exactly which model I had, the actual model number for this Hot Wheels from Mattel is, let me check here, it's 7630. However, there were some of these cars made, I saw online, that noted that some of them were stamped with the model number 6969, which was a previous thing. I believe it was one of the models that I mentioned earlier, the Snake or something like that, which were modeled on a Plymouth Barracuda, I believe. But anyways, if you look inside here, I don't know if I can catch it in the video. I got it in photos. You can see that this one is stamped 6969. It's in the body. There, you can see it. It's also stamped 6969 in the top. So that was pretty interesting. I'm not actually, it was up for debate whether that makes it more collectible or not, but it's a good piece of information to know, and it's nice that I could find that out and include that for any potential collectors or buyers who wanted to buy this particular car. So I'll set it over here, and you can see that we have this one listed for $33 and no shipping over in the shop. What's interesting, the original models of this dragster, they came with these plastic pieces that you could actually prop up the top like this for displaying it. But then for whatever reason, probably cost, I assume, the Top Eliminator version here in 74 didn't come with that. You just got the awesome car. Once again, this one's in, you know, it's got the chips and things like that, but otherwise it's in really good shape. Not a lot of pitting or anything in the bottom. The tires look good, rolls great. That's pretty awesome. Next up is just a really wonderful 1970s Hot Wheel. This is a swinging wing. I believe it says it clearly on the bottom. Yeah, you can see it there. Now this one was really confusing for me because when I went to look up information, the car didn't quite look right. It looked slightly different than the Hot Wheels swinging wing, and then also this color didn't match any of the factory colors that I was researching for how Hot Wheels released their swinging wings. Um, but the mystery was eventually solved when I realized that this is actually a promotional car that was given out for free by Shell service stations, you know, the gas stations, in 1973. And what the differences are, if you have a regular Hot Wheels swinging wing, it has a separate metal engine piece in the back that you can actually grab the exhaust pipes and pull out the engine and take a look at it. And then also it had these notches in the side up here, and it came with this large plastic wing for aerodynamics or whatever. That's how it got its name. And the wing was adjustable. You can move it up or down or whatever like that. It's a big old thing. If you look up a picture, well, maybe I can just slide a picture in over there on the side. But anyways, I guess from what I could tell reading about it is that it was sort of a cost-cutting measure for these promotional cars, that they changed the back. They just put the exhaust pipes on the base, and then they just got rid of that, put in just a smooth metal rear, and they got rid of the little notches to hold the wing, and they just put in these indentations of louvres across the top. And then I think the glass is a different color, and then also this glitter metallic pink color was unique to those Shell promo releases. I think the regular Hot Wheels, they have a paint that's called Spectra Flame, and it looks a little different. It's not quite as glittery, but it's like a metallic, really neat, almost transparent metallic colors that Hot Wheels is famous for. I know about them because I have a YouTuber that I watch, Bare Metal HW. I was turned on to him with a like an oddly satisfying subreddit post, I think it was, and he restores, mostly Hot Wheels, but he does other diecast cars and toys, and it's wonderful and so relaxing to watch the whole process of taking the cars apart and then painting them, restoring the metal, doing all these sorts of things, and then putting them back together. And along those lines, there's something kind of quirky about this car. Is normally these little rivet heads down here that go into the post, which is what holds the top to the bottom. Here, there's no real metal rivet heads. There's just the pink, from which I assume is the top. Where the top got painted that hot pink. And so actually, the front, this is probably a slight flaw. You can see it's a little bit loose. It's a little bit of a gap you can get in there. It won't come completely free, but there's not as much normally holding it in place. Once again, this one has some very light wear, especially along the edges of the front, and then up here. But it's in fantastic shape, and I wasn't really able to find too many that were better, especially in this color from the Shell promo versions. I think it's so neat that it's a little bit different than the normal Hot Wheels, and it was something that was given away, so it seems less likely that these would survive because, a kid wouldn't be as careful with a free car from the gas station, I wouldn't think. So anyways, this one is a little bit more valuable than the previous cars we shared. I think we've got this one for sale for $39 with no shipping. And that's in contrast. Let me flash up this is really interesting. You can see what these look like. I'll hold it back up here. When they, what they look like in the original packaging that you got from Shell, and this eBay listing, where the car's still sealed, and it's going, well, they got it, the price is listed as $399 for that one. So, but obviously to have the free promotional car from 1973 still sealed in the package is pretty remarkable. So, I don't know if it'll go for $399, but I can certainly understand the seemingly exorbitant price. That's a crazy rare fun fun item to find. Okay, next up we have 2 of 3 different Playart cars. Playart was a brand of diecast cars made in the 70s, you know, obviously to compete with Hot Wheels, Matchbox, and some of the others that had become such a big phenomenon. I think these Playart started in the early 70s. Unfortunately, there's not a ton of information about specific dates and all this sort of stuff from the company. That's a company based in Hong Kong. And I think because they weren't necessarily regarded on the same level as Hot Wheels and Matchbox, that sort of their history kind of came and went without collectors obsessing over it and all that sort of stuff. So they're trying to piece it together now, and it's a little bit difficult. As a result, I wasn't able to really get specific dates on these. They made these types of cars throughout the 70s, and I did find a couple of articles that mentioned that in the late 70s, Playart switched to this sort of gloss black enamel for their bases. So I'm going to assume that these are from the late 70s. And you may have noticed these are the same car. It's the Mercedes-Benz C111 concept car. It's a very famous car. Mercedes made multiple versions of the C111, and all kinds of car companies. I was able to find so many versions. They all love the design, and so multiple brands released them, and this is Playart's version. And we have a burgundy one and kind of a brick red colored one. Both of them have the same sort of tan interior. Now, one thing I will point out, the red one is missing the little plastic silver piece that goes in the back. So that's unfortunate. But still, it's a neat little pair. Apparently there were multiple colors, like lots of colors to choose from. So I don't know how rare each of the colors are. These are kind of a neat matching set, almost from the same area of the color wheel, and it'll make a great addition, you know, to anybody who's collecting Playart or collecting Mercedes or the C11 specifically. Once again, these are, you can see some of the light wear along the edges where the paint's coming off on that one, and same on this one. But nothing too major. Otherwise, these are in fantastic shape. There's like no wear at all on the bottom. The wheels are great. And they're neat little cars. All the reviews that I read basically said the same thing, is that like Playart was sort of unfairly regarded as much lesser than Matchbox and Hot Wheels. But in retrospect, you know, they're looked at now as, you know, on par as far as quality. So these are really neat. And I'm actually going to split them up. We don't want them side by side on the display there. Okay, next up is a 4th brand of cars that we have. This is a Topper Toys put out this series of Johnny Lightning cars. That was their competition for Hot Wheels and Matchbox. And this is their custom dragster that came out in 1969. And amazingly, it came in 28 different colors. This is, it's funny, the lighting, it kind of shifts, but I think it's a dark green. Sometimes it appears blue, but I'm pretty sure it's a dark green. And this one's by far in the worst condition of any of the cars that we got. It's missing, it's supposed to have 2 engines like this. The second one sits on there, and it's gone. And then also, apparently these had a sort of a plastic little canopy that went over the driver's seat. From what I read, those are often, they came off pretty easy, and it's rare to find these that still have those. And then it had these exhaust pipes that stuck out maybe on one side, and those are broken, and the wheels are a little bit wonky at this point. You know, all that being said, the body itself, as you can tell, is not, the paint's good, it's in good shape. So I think a collector that was looking for parts, or maybe a restoration project, there's a lot here to work with. See if I can find a photo of what these cars look like intact. Yeah, there's one. And then given the condition and everything on this one, we've got it over in the Etsy shop for $5 plus shipping, I believe. So despite, you know, missing all the parts and all that sort of stuff, it's a very collectible car. It's from the 60s. Like I mentioned, it comes in 28 different colors, I believe. So collectors looking for a specific color, it's really hard to track down exactly what you want with these. And so even one in this shape, from what I could tell, people are still willing to buy them and happy to get them. Oh, and I forgot to mention the two Mercedes. We actually paired them up. We stack them here in the shop, and so it's a two-for deal. I think you can get both of them for $32. No shipping with that. All right, what we got now? Oh, next, this is great. These are, boy, Hot Wheels in the 70s go hand in hand. It doesn't get much more 1970s Hot Wheels than this little bad rascal. Check that out. This bright fluorescent green custom van. It says Spoiler Sport on the side with this big, what is that, sunset with a palm tree graphic. The van's got this raised roof with extra windows. It's got a big spoiler fin on the back, like a wedge shape. Oh, this, when I was researching, I'm not sure what the little dot on the top is. Pretty neat. Custom vans were such a huge phenomenon in the 70s, and so Hot Wheels made a number of these custom vans that were kind of crazy and over the top with their colors and designs and all that sort of stuff. And they were extremely popular. This one, they made it for years. I think they were still making it, a version of it. It looked a little different up through the mid 80s. So this particular one is the first. If you saw the bottom, it actually is called Spoiler Sport. And this particular version was made between 1977 and 1979. It's in really good shape. About all of these, you know, they just have some of the minor chipping along the edges. But the paint, the graphics on this are still fantastic. And, you know, windshield looks good. The tires are good. The bottom's almost like new. Really nice. Oh, it's just so great. I love that. I put it over here, and it looks like we got this one in the shop for $7 plus shipping. So how can you resist getting that bad rascal 70s custom van, Hot Wheels Spoiler Sport, $7 plus shipping. Plus now it's a YouTube star. Oh no. Gotta be careful. Cars roll, especially Hot Wheels. That's always, when I was a kid, is always the best thing about the Hot Wheels. They have like the suspension, the little axles, the way that they did it was unique, and they're real bouncy and springy, and they rolled so freely. That's what you know, created the illusion maybe that they were faster. They just seemed to roll better, and it was something that was noticeable as a kid, which I'm sure contributed to their huge success. Okay, next up is the most valuable car that we got. Look at this. This is once again a very stereotypical 70s Hot Wheels, based on a concept car. So like a retro futuristic, super fun, you know, kid would love that. It's a little space car almost. But this is called the Split in the Image. Did it say that on the bottom? Yeah, it sure did. And you'll notice it says copyright 1968 on the bottom. The original Hot Wheels Split in the Image was produced and sold in 1969. And but just like the Swing and Wing, I had issues. I couldn't match this car up. The colors didn't match. This windshield certainly didn't match. This is like it's not even clear. It's just black plastic. So I just assumed, almost just like the Swing and Wing, is that maybe this was a restoration, and they decided to go with a custom wacky non-Hot Wheels paint and these custom black windshields. Anyways, but because I'd looked into the Swing and Wing, I kind of knew where to go again. And when I looked for it, sure enough, this was a Shell service station promo given away in the same year in 1973. And so once again, when they issued them for Shell, they used a different kind of paint. This is like this enamel glitter paint. This is like a seafoam green metallic glitter enamel paint. And then, you know, I mentioned on the Swing and Wing that they cut some costs. They got rid of the actual Swing and Wing, and then they changed the rear of the car to make it less expensive to make. And on this one, they went with these black opaque windshields. And from what I read, there's no interior cockpits in there. There's no seats or anything. They left that empty. So they were able to save that cost on these, which were once again given out for free. But this one, I couldn't find any exactly like this in this good a shape online, which is really phenomenal when you think about how many collectors there are and how they love to share. You know, they get the excitement and all that sort of stuff. There's photos of almost all different kinds of collectible whatever's online, but this is was really unique. I couldn't find anything. As a result, we got it in the shop for $85. I mean, no shipping because it's over 25. And something tells me that's going to be a bargain for someone who's really looking for this. I think this is a truly unique, rare, collectible Hot Wheels car. I'm so excited to own it, at least for a little while. It's so much fun. I can't, you know, I'm just so astonished. I can't believe this whole case, to be honest. So, all right. Next up is a super fun car, and we're going back to Playart for this one. It's a police station wagon, a white station wagon. And when I looked it up, this is apparently it's modeled after a 1968 Mercury commuter station wagon. This one's been fitted with some police decals, two blue police lights on the tops. It's got the blue tinted windshield, windows, and it's got the glossy black enamel base, which if you remember from when I talked about the Mercedes, is that dates it to the late 70s. Because that was the period that Playart was doing that with the bases. They did them differently in the early 70s, and then they switched it up again around 1980. So now this one's kind of rough. It looks like it's been featured in a Blues Brothers movie. Been on a few high-speed chases in its day. That makes it kind of more fun, really. Both of the decals on the side are starting to come off. The decals on the hood and then the top seem fine, but the days are numbered for the door decals. But you know, all in all, it's in really good shape, especially considering that it's pushing 50 years old. But yeah, it's fun. The whole notion of a police station wagon just puts a smile on my face, anyways. And then add that it's from the 70s and it's a little toy. Even better. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to talk a little bit more actually about Playart. As I mentioned, they came out in the 70s as a competition for Hot Wheels, Matchbox, etc. And but they weren't marketed necessarily with the brand Playart. I mean, you see it printed on the base of the car. But what they did is they sold their cars through a variety of stores, and for each of the store chains, they had a different name. The most popular of which was Peelers, which is what they sold for at Woolworth. And amazingly, the internet was able to find this actual car in its original packaging as a peeler for sale at a Woolworths. Now, some of the other brands that Playart sold under is they went by Roadmates for Sears and Freewheelers for McCrory. And another interesting thing about Playart, especially for collectors, is that they made a lot of models of cars that no other car companies made at the time or since, from what I could tell. So that's real fascinating. I think this particular station wagon, and as I mentioned earlier, the Mercedes-Benz C111 was lots of other brands made those, but apparently the Playart made lots of models of cars that no other die-cast car companies were making. So some of theirs are must-haves for particular kinds of car collectors. That's the only other Playart car that we got. Next up may be my favorite car in the case, and it was the only one that I actually recognized. This is a very famous Hot Wheels Redline car. It's called the Red Baron, and you may be able to tell why. The Red Baron was the famous German World War I pilot that was also featured in the Peanuts cartoons and animated specials as Snoopy's aerial adversary. But yeah, this is called the Red Baron, and it's based on an actual real custom car that was built, I believe, in 1968. I'll show you a photo taken from Wikipedia over there. But what's funny is that the real car was actually based on a model. It was by the same designer. The designer came up with the concept for the model, and then it was so popular that he worked with an actual builder, and they built the real car. But anyways, getting back to the Hot Wheels version, the bottom mentions it's copyrighted in 1969, but this came out in 1970. This is the first year that they produced the Red Baron, and you can tell it's from the first year, from 1970, by the little spike on the helmet. See how tall that is? Apparently, in later models, they reduced that to more of kind of a nub, and I got a kick out of it when I learned that part of the reason for that is rumored to be parents complaining about stepping on the cars, which that makes all the sense in the world. That would top a Lego as far as a painful experience for barefoot interaction. But the car is so awesome. It's got this big kind of German helmet with the German stickers on the side. This engine with those big exhaust pipes coming out of one side. The asymmetry makes it more kind of punk in my mind. Gives it more of an edge. And it's in the trademark red Spectra Flame paint, which amazingly is mostly still intact on this car. There's some chipping along the edges of the fenders, but you can still get the whole feel for what that Spectra Flame was like on the Hot Wheels. The base is in great shape. The wheels are pretty good. I mean, I don't know a lot about it, but they seem in fine shape, and it rolls great. And oh, I just love this car. If it looks familiar to you and you're not too familiar with Hot Wheels from the 70s, it may be from the movie Toy Story. This was the one that, if you recall the scene where Buzz Lightyear was trying to convince Woody that he could fly, and he jumped off the bed, he bounced off a ball, landed on a racetrack, did a loop-de-loop, and then spun around on the ceiling before landing on the bed. And Woody was all sarcastic and said that it wasn't flying, it was just falling gracefully. Anyways, the car that Buzz landed on the track, I'll put his cap over there, was the Red Baron. You can see that clearly there. So it's a pretty iconic car. Like I said, I recognized it right away when I took it out as, probably one of like 10 of the older Hot Wheels unique cars that I recognized from being a kid. It was still around. I forget, I'm not sure how long they made it. But yeah, this is from the very first year. And it's very rare, and it's in really great shape for a car that's well over 50 years old. And we've got this one listed in the Etsy shop for $66, no shipping. And I think that'll be a deal for someone looking to fill the Red Baron slot in their Hot Wheels collection, or any car collection. This is probably at the top of the want list for all kinds of car collectors, toy car collectors. And last up, we've got one more Hot Wheels. This one is tied for the youngest car in the box. Came out in 1989. It's the Hot Wheels Chevy Stalker, S-T-O-C-K-E-R. It's a stock car based on, the NASCAR stock cars. This one doesn't have an actual name of a driver or anything. Just got the number 3, red, silver on black. Got the logos, the actual logos from the company. And then it's got this glossy black paint job. And the body on this is based on a 1986 Chevy Monte Carlo Aero Coupe, which was a production car that Chevy put out, but they only sold enough to make it qualify as a quote stock unquote car, so then they could use that body style for their NASCAR racing car. I believe it was like 200 of those cars were made. But that's what the body style is on this one. Once again, it's in fantastic shape. This one, maybe the best shape of all the cars. Can't hardly find any flaws in it at all. Which makes sense given that it is a young one, comparatively speaking. Bottom's great too. We got this one over in the shop for just $4 plus shipping. So you can get a piece of Dust Euphoria history for not very much money. It's a nice little race car. Now we're going to finish things up with like the most valuable item that we got, and it wasn't one of the cars. When Lynn Cinnamon spotted this case and got it out, I assumed that it was a new case that was sort of had a retro look to it. But all indications are that it is actually an old car case from 1973. You can tell it says Hot Wheels Collector's Race Case. And this thing is nearly flawless. It's got some little white marks. That's actually a print from the continuation of that. And then I think there's, this you can see some black smudges. I did some very light cleaning. I didn't want to risk anything, so I just did some barely damp, super soft cloth with a light wiping. And so some of this may come out or may come off if you know what you're doing and don't want to risk making things worse. You can see on the base here, it's got the date 1973 Mattel Incorporated. And even the bottom, which would be getting the most wear, most kids, sliding this on the shelf or whatever. It does have some shelf wear, but it's very nominal, not very much at all. And then the other edges are also in great shape, but super remarkable, at least when I was looking up these types of cases online. Oh, the handle's great too. Nothing, nowhere at all. Is the fact that the plastic tray is in mint condition. There's absolutely nothing. Most of the ones I saw online, these are, I guess, get kind of brittle over time, and so these pieces were broken in most all the cases that I saw. But this is there's absolutely nothing wrong with the tray and the 12 dividers inside. And so I was concerned when I was Googling it and trying to find out information. Most everyone I found not only had the broken tray, but the interior was white. It was a white plastic, looked like the same kind of almost vinyl material. But like I say, it was white. So I got super concerned. I found a couple of Hot Wheels collector forums though that talked about these collector's race cases, and they mentioned that they did have multiple options. They had a white interior, apparently they had a black interior, and then the red interior, which is kind of a red-orange, but I think this is what they were describing as red. So apparently this was an official, this was an option that you could get it in the same color. So that made me feel a little better, and also made me feel good that I couldn't find any photos with the red interior. So I'm wondering if maybe it's a little more rare. And so not only would it be rare because of the color, but I couldn't find any that were in this good a shape. I mean, this is, I just can't, 50 plus year old kid's car collector case made out of, the plastic's supposed to be durable enough to sort of protect your cars, but it's not supposed to be durable enough to, still be awesome 50 years later. So this, I don't know, this must have been tucked away very carefully in storage. Now, as I mentioned, our youngest cars, I believe is this one and this one, are from 1989. So the longest that this case could have been packed away with the cars inside would have been since 1989, which means that this would have, this case would have been 16 years old at that time, which this doesn't even look like it's, when you consider what a kid will put a protective case through, this doesn't look like it's a year old, anyways. So yeah, as a result, the case itself is looked to be the most valuable and rarest and most amazing thing in the whole haul here. We've got it listed over in the shop for $99 and no shipping on that. And something tells me that may be the first thing to go. I really do feel like that is the most unique, hardest to find, rarest as far as condition and everything item in this whole haul, which is just so funny to me that that's how it turned out, but it did. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. I really can't tell you how overjoyed I was to get these cars, and in the case that they came in, and be able to just own them, even if it's just for a while. I mean, I used to love the Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars myself when I was a kid, and it's just I feel really blessed and lucky that I get to say that I'm in possession of a 1970 Hot Wheels Red Baron. Now we may sell it. It may find a new home, someone who has a deeper appreciation and for the cars or whatever, but I will forever get to say that I had one and I got to play with it, and it's just so awesome. And the fact that it was just tossed in a thrift store bin, getting ready to head to the landfill, is just mind-blowing to me. And so anyways, thanks so much for tuning in. This was really fun, and of course, I hope we run across some more valuable items. It's bound to happen. We do find items like this sometimes at like estate sales and stuff, but you kind of have to pay a bit of a premium. It's not the usual that we find stuff priced by $1.69 by the pound and find stuff that's really valuable in that situation. We have, and we've got some things yet to come up that I haven't shared with you, but nothing so far quite compares to a whole 12 car vintage collection of all cars that are dated from 1969 to 1989, and they came in a near perfect condition 1973 Hot Wheels race case. So amazing. Anyways, as you saw in the video, we've got every one of these cars are listed over in our Etsy shop, so they're available to buy while supplies last. You can also expect to see all of these cars making an appearance soon on Lynn Cinnamon's ASMR channel, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And for those of you curious about the running total on the value of the cars in the case, if you just go by our Etsy listings, the grand total was just over $400. I think it was $403, $404, something like that, which is really not bad when you consider we paid, I think it was $2.80 based on the weight of the case in the cars. It's just, my mind is still blown about this. It's just so great. Anyways, thanks again. Please like, comment, subscribe, and all that stuff, and we'll see you in our next video.